Hi, it's Sue and Sammy on November 1st. Sammy said she wanted to be in a video with me. She hasn't been in one in a while, and I made a list of all things I wanted to talk about, put it in my back pocket. She got my list out of my back pocket and chewed it up. How did she do that? Amazing. Amazing dogs, isn't she? Amazing. She is very active. Very active. She's wearing her pretty fall dress. And you may think it's strange I dressed her in a dress, but we make cards to cheer up people at home who are isolated or just need a happy birthday or some words sent to them to encourage them. So I bought a couple of dresses, which aren't too much, about 10. I don't spend more than $15 on Sammy's dresses. Today's the first day of no SNAP benefits. I've made 2 videos on this issue already, but it's just so involved that I thought I should make another video on the first day of having no benefits. But first I wanted to mention, I hope everybody had a great Halloween. Halloween was always one of my favorite holidays every year. I just loved Halloween. I love trick-or-treating and getting all the candy. And the one house that was my favorite was across the street where a family, the man worked for, I don't know the name of the company, they packaged peanuts, shelled peanuts. And he gave out a bag of peanuts every year and we loved it. Even though we just loved candy, the peanuts were our favorite thing to get. And we'd always try to go back and get another one. And he'd say, you already got one bag, you don't get a second bag. So even though we all loved candy as kids, those peanuts were our favorite house every year. I recently saw a video of Governor Pritzker and his staff asking ICE to pause, just pause for Halloween weekend. Halloween, it already is a dangerous time as a lot of kids dart in front of cars because they're so excited about candy that they get hit by cars or fall because it's dark and they're running and they trip on their costume or they have a mask or whatever and they get hurt. Sadly, some kids actually even die during Halloween. I remember as a kid, and I always thought this happened in the Chicago area where I grew up, but it didn't. I think it happened somewhere else. But I was a kid when it happened. A boy got poisoned from, I think it was called the pixie stick, or it was like a straw filled with sugary powder. And there was poison in it. Turned out it was his own father who killed him. Very sad. He had bought life insurance on him, and it was his own father. I remember to this day, I never ate those whatever you call them, pixie sticks. I never ate those. I always remembered that. Just like the Tylenol sad story happened in Chicagoland area as well in the 80s. I always think twice whenever I'm taking an aspirin, Tylenol, ibuprofen, whatever I'm taking. I always think twice because that story always pops in my head when I'm going to take that pill. That was before there were safety seals on medicines. So a lot has happened in the Chicago area. Governor Pritzker asked nicely for them to pause so that kids are not hurt by the tear gas, the cars, the throwing of the parents on the ground, or taking the parents and leaving the kids behind. The things that I'm seeing on videos, which you may say aren't true, but they seem to be pretty accurate, that they've started a whistle campaign where they're giving people whistles to get people to come in and help. I've told Steve if we were living in Chicago and had younger children, there was no way they would go trick-or-treating because, first of all, you don't even know what suburbs they're going to. They're not going to the dangerous suburbs. They're going to some of the wealthier suburbs and doing this. So it just can't be a safe environment. And I'm all about safety. I've always stressed to our children to be safe. So I thought it was very sad that this Halloween is ruined for so many reasons. I'm hoping we don't hear of a lot of accidents or sad things happening this year. Okay, I'm I'm consulting my torn up note. Sammy wants to finish eating it. She said she loves paper. When I was a kid and they'd say they had an excuse that my dog ate my homework, I always thought that was made up. I was like, dogs don't eat paper. Well, she's probably, I think, our first dog who eats paper and eats it if it's anywhere to be found. She finds it and eats it. I always thought that was just a rumor. Who eats paper when you've got good treats and dog food and bones? Okay, so the first thing is the food stamps. A lot of people believe that people don't deserve food stamps, even though there's 42 million people on food stamps. 1 in 4, those are children who have no say or control over how much money, income, or food comes into the house. 1 in 8 Americans are on food stamps. Many of them are elderly, disabled, or work full-time jobs. I've heard up to 70% of people on food stamps work at least part-time, if not full-time. Those statistics are scary in itself. Why so many Americans are on food stamps? Because our wages are so low. I like to watch one young man, Austin Williams. He's like 32 years old. He does some outstanding videos. He did one recently about the changing work environment, how we went from valuing employees to giving them a fair wage to seeing employees as a way to cut our expenses by cutting their hours, benefits, and time, to where we saw them as a way to make money. The bottom line is to maximize shareholder wealth, which is what I heard all the years I was in business school, the University of Tennessee, getting my finance degree and later my graduate degree. I heard it over and over. It drilled into my head that the goal is to maximize shareholder wealth. They did not tell us how to do that, but cutting benefits, cutting employees, reducing their hours, things like that are how you maximize shareholder wealth. Ironically, right now, the stock market is very high as so many people are getting laid off. We see thousands from numerous companies. I also have a screenshot of the companies I saw that are laying off by the thousands just this week or in the past month or so. So, not only are we impacting our future, our children, 1 in 4 children, they are our future. They're who's going to be supporting us, who's going to be taking care of us, who's going to be paying into Social Security, who's going to be our future, who are going to be our doctors, lawyers, teachers, IT people. Children are the future. 1 in 4 will not be able to eat as of November 1st unless your state or city has enacted a program to help make up this deficit. But not only does this affect the children, the elderly, the disabled, the lower income, it affects all of us. I know a lot of people think, well, I'm not on food stamps, it doesn't impact me. I've heard stories that Walmart, which is one of the biggest worldwide employer, definitely in the United States, and where many of the employees are on food stamps, they expect there to be riots or violence. So they've gotten more security and taken some measures to deal with when people don't have food stamps yet still need to eat. Now, this isn't confirmed by Walmart. This is just on social media, but I do tend to believe it. But there's only so much you can do. You're not going to be able to cover all of the threats as people are starving. My daughter, who loves social studies and history, said the surest way to start a revolution is to starve the people. She told me that 6 months ago. She said, what will start a revolution in America is starvation. And now that's what's happening. As people can't afford food, and perhaps less food is sold, the prices will have to go up for the rest of us. Just like with health insurance, when we have people who don't pay their bills, the rest of us pay those bills. Food prices will go up, which they're already unaffordable for us, but now they will be totally unaffordable, so that is going to impact us as well. As we have people who can't afford to eat, this will impact their health. There's been an increasing number of people becoming diabetic and having hypertension. Well, as they can't afford to eat or get the proper foods, diabetes will get worse. That will cause more ER visits, which again will impact us as the people going to the ER can't pay their bills. that will be pushed onto the people who have insurance. Insurance premiums will go up. They're already going up with the changes in the ACA, which again, people think, oh, I'm not on ACA, it's not going to impact me. I've seen numerous postings where young people said, I'm not paying $2,000 or $3,000 a month, I'm healthy, I'm not going to get insurance. We feel like overall we're pretty healthy, but you never know when a health crisis comes up. You never know. So there will be visits to the ER, there will be accidents, car accidents, although car accidents are not covered by your health insurance. They are covered by your car insurance. So if you don't have, I don't know how that works. I just know that one time I hurt my neck when I was rear-ended, and my doctor made me pay him cash. He said, I can't go through your insurance because this is the result of a car accident, and it was too small for me to go through my car insurance, so I just had to pay out of pocket for that doctor visit. That was probably 25 years ago when that happened. As I said in one of my previous videos on food stamps, my father lost his job in the late 70s. He was a electrical engineer working in the television industry. And as Japanese companies, and this is mentioned in Austin Williams' video, how we became a global country. To save costs, we went globally. So Japanese companies were coming in, buying up a lot of the television, telecommunication companies and laying off. So they laid off the entire company, which I don't even know who my father worked for. He was in the silent generation, part of the silent generation, never talks. I didn't even know who he worked for. I mean, it was years before I even knew he worked on television sets. As a young child, me and my siblings thought he drove a train, being an engineer. My parents never talked to us about what he did. He was laid off for 6 months. That was pretty major. We had 8 children a year apart, a lot of mouths to feed. At that time, my mother went back to work. I think today how amazing it was that she was able to just go get a job for health insurance. He actually required her to go to work more for the health insurance than the pay. But along with his unemployment, her pay, and her health insurance, and his savings, he was always a huge saver. We were able to get by. He didn't really complain about not having money, or he would never get food stamps. He was too proud. He was too proud to ever get any government help. He was raised in an environment where you never ever accepted government help, which to me is crazy because that's what its first original intention was, for people who lost jobs or had health crises. It was for a temporary means to help feed people. It was never intended to be a permanent long-term solution. As now wages are staying low, it has been long-term for many, many people. My mother, on the other hand, her father died at 5, and they didn't have food stamps because that was like 1936, right around the time FDR was starting Social Security and all the government safety nets. Her brother, I believe, was 15 years old. He had to drop out of high school, is the rumor. She didn't talk either. But he had to go to work to support the family because her mother didn't work. What kind of work did a 15-year-old get? I have no idea. I'm sure they lived in pretty extreme poverty. She did say they got charity baskets every holiday. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. They'd get gifts. She had a lot of dolls because they always gave girls dolls. And she got food for the holidays. I don't know what they did in between. I know my father worked part-time jobs from 10, and he told us about his jobs, but I never knew what my uncle did. I know later in life he drove a cab and sold life insurance, which today I wonder how he sold life insurance if he didn't even graduate from high school. But back then, they didn't require college degrees or things, probably didn't require the training. They've added those layers of training to make these degrees more expensive and only accessible to people with money. But going back to my father, at 10, he used to set up bowling pins. They didn't have the automatic electronic device that would set up bowling pins. So he would actually be at the end of the aisles setting up pins after people bowled. Then he would push a cart in Chicago selling ice cream. I remember back then you could only buy ice cream on Sundays. Somebody would push a cart. It wasn't the ice cream man driving around. He pushed a cart, and whatever he didn't sell or melted was deducted from his check. they didn't have minimum wage, I'm assuming, because then he wouldn't even be making minimum wage. It doesn't sound really fair that you're going to be penalized for things that melted or didn't sell. So I guess you had to sell all your ice cream. Then, of course, I think he did the usual, like, newspaper routes. He had a series of jobs from 10 on, as both my parents grew up in poverty, as they were both living through the Great Depression. Now, there's another debate on food stamps that says some people, and they generally say that the Republicans think that people on food stamps can only get certain items. Then there's people who say they're Democrats who say that they should be able to get whatever they want. I'm going to say right now, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. I consider myself to be independent, but I know from my parents growing up in poverty, I didn't have the best diet. My mother in particular, and the mother is often the one who makes the food, she loves sugar. And even though we didn't have snacks and we had 3 meals a day, she did like desserts, and we had a lot of desserts. I rarely went to the dentist and had a mouthful of cavities and fillings. Today I have 11 crowns. I just got 5 recently. These are left over from my childhood. They're not recent things, as I have changed my diet in the last 10 to 20 years, really a lot in the last 5 years. But when you're addicted to sugar because you grew up with sugar, that's a hard addiction to overcome. There was a doctor I used to watch from Tennessee, and I don't remember his name because I haven't seen him in a while, but he would talk about sugar addiction. It's kind of like alcohol or drugs, that sugar addiction is bad. So anyway, my point is here, I do think they should limit what can be bought on food stamps. I don't think that soft drinks or Coke should be allowed. My grandfather's job, who I never met because he died well before I was born, was working for a bottling company in Chicago in the early 1900s. And back then, he was laid off every winter. They didn't even sell soft drinks in the winter. People don't understand how things have changed so much that we have sugar everywhere we go. We have it in our tomato sauce. We have it in our breads. We have it in our cereals. You get sugar in everything. And while I don't agree that Parkrose Permaculture, who is a wonderful, wonderful YouTuber who has lots of viewers, and I really love her show, she has stated that she believes that people on food stamps should get whatever they want. She says she has 4 kids, and early in her marriage, her and her husband did have food insecurity, but they didn't get food stamps. They went to the food banks. And being in Oregon, maybe the food banks, I think they were healthier than the general food banks of America. But like I said, there is sugar from morning to night. There's bad food. And I don't agree that your diet is 100% of your health problems. Studies have shown in other countries that what your grandmother ate contributes to your health. Your grandmother's health and what she ate in her environment contributes to your health, along with any number of things. Your environment, there's so many toxins, so many young people are getting cancer today, and it's usually further along stage 3 or stage 4, and they don't really know why. So I don't agree it's 100% your food, but if we can control food, we should control food. Sugar is everywhere you go. Like I've said, it's in the schools. If the child is getting food stamps and on free breakfast and lunch, if you look at it, when I was growing up, there was no food labels, so we didn't know what was healthy and what wasn't healthy. When they put food labels on foods, I didn't know how much sugar you should have in a day. I only in the last maybe 10 years learned that one soft drink has maybe 35 grams of sugar when you should maybe have 25 in the whole day and not all at one time. I felt really stupid, and I felt kind of violated that we were never told what was healthy, and that all these foods that our food corporations are selling us, that they're allowed to sell us all these things that many European countries don't sell. So she says that you shouldn't deny people on food stamps these items, and I say you should because of 2 things. If a person doesn't eat this junk food, she says it's a stereotypical thing of saying people on food stamps eat poorly. Well, okay, if they don't and you limit the foods, they're not going to miss it because they never ate it to begin with. But if they do, they don't need these foods. They don't need these foods because these habits go through the generations. My mother's poor eating habits went to me, and it was hard. It took years to overcome, to change my diet. And I would say talk to people today who were on food stamps 30 years ago and see how many of their original teeth they have. How many crowns, fillings, dentures, implants, or if they're missing teeth. And I'm not saying this lightly because I'm lucky, extremely lucky, that I have all of my teeth. And I fight hard, as I almost lost one recently. I fight hard to keep my teeth. And I fought hard to keep my children's teeth. But when we moved south, we have been in Georgia off and on I first moved here, I don't know, 35 years ago or so, and we've been back and forth, but we've been in Georgia more than any other state. I fought with the schools for years. They required 2 huge bags of candy as school supplies at the beginning of the year, and then they would ask them throughout the year. I substitute taught in 30 different schools in 4 different districts, and all of them had bags of candy, huge bags of candy. They love to give candy to the kids to shut them up. Just shut them up. I fought. I did not want my daughter, in particular, she seemed to get more candy than my son because she was younger. I would fight and say, I don't want her to have candy. And the teacher said, you want her to be the only one who doesn't get candy. Well, yes, but I couldn't do that. I wasn't there. So when she started middle school, she had 5 classes in a day, and she'd come home with 5 pieces of candy. I'd say, if you bring them home, I'll pay you for them. I had to pay her. So she'd bring home 5 pieces of candy, and I had to pay her because I did not want her rotting her teeth. Unfortunately, she is losing a tooth right now. I say from all the sugar in the lunches, which I didn't realize till recently how bad school lunches are till I started reading books on how unhealthy school lunches are. I mean, I did notice, because I moved south when I was a senior, I did notice an instant difference we barely got school lunches. My family couldn't afford them, so we had to bring our lunch maybe 3 days or 4 days, and I got to buy lunch 1 or 2 days a week. And it was generally, we didn't like it because it was boring and healthy. I noticed as soon as I moved south that they had Coke machines and junk food machines in the school, which we never had in the Midwest. And the lunches were different. They had a lot more sugar in them. I noticed that instantly. So every day we actually had a break in high school. Senior year of high school, we had a break where everybody would go to the Coke machine and buy a soft drink and a candy bar. And I didn't have any money, so I wasn't able to buy it. Again, there's an example. Now, did I feel bad? I mean, I felt a little bad, but I didn't need a Coke. I certainly didn't need those calories, and I didn't need that sugar. So, yeah, I was left out. I didn't get to buy the Coke or all these kids. And we didn't live in a wealthy area. It was kind of a poor area. My father moved us to it was kind of split. Half the school was really poor, and then half were middle class, but it wasn't wealthy by any means. So these kids, it seems like the poor kids always had more money than the wealthier kids to buy the junk. But my best friend always bought a Dr. Pibb. Or Mr. Pibb? Is it Mr. Pibb? I don't know. I never drank that. I think it was Mr. Pibb and Twix every day. Every day she bought this. And she was very thin. She was just naturally very, very thin. I do wonder about her today, where she ended up, because she was actually a foster child. And I do wonder whatever happened to her. But there's another case when you're saying that these kids on food stamps should get the things, whatever, the junk food. When the ice cream man came through our neighborhood as a child, we were the people who never had money to go get ice cream. Again, I saw what it's like. And you know what? It's part of life. It's part of life. You just say, okay, maybe when I grow up, I'll get it. Whatever. It's sometimes in life you have to be disappointed, and you have to do without. Food stamps were never intended to be your entire food budget. So you could buy the healthy food with food stamps and then buy your junk food with your own personal money. I know in our last house, our neighbor's mother, who I think she was middle class, but she was in a program where she got, I don't know if it was for elderly people. I don't know if it was Atlanta. I don't think it was a federal program. She got a box of vegetables every month, and she didn't eat them. So see, I just had a feeling that she probably never ate vegetables. And so they'd give us half of that box, really, really good, healthy vegetables. And she didn't eat them. So if you get these habits at a young age of not eating the healthy foods, you're going to have those habits your entire life. I know one of the school districts I worked in that was very, very poor had a huge trailer park, and it wasn't a nice trailer park. It was rusty trailer parks with windows knocked out and cardboard over the windows. They had a huge turnover all the time. Students were always moving in and out. When the rent was due, they moved away. These kids didn't even know what a banana was. They had to bring in bananas and teach them what a banana was at one point because these kids had not been exposed to any healthy foods at all. I know myself that I didn't know the majority of vegetables and had a very limited diet because of the result of my mother's poverty, which was the result of her poverty, of her mother's poverty, of the generational poverty. I mean, I'm not blaming my mother. You know what you grow up with. You're familiar with what you're exposed to. So if people on food stamps, and maybe that's why I feel so much more adamant that people on food stamps shouldn't get junk food, because I know what it does to you. I know, and if you do end up being on food stamps for years and years, and you are buying junk food, that means that's your entire diet, and then you're getting it the free breakfast, free lunch, dinner. You're never getting any healthy foods. I mean, just looking at the rates of diabetes. I mean, this is one thing I agree with JFK Jr. about. Make America healthy again is, yeah, we do need to examine our food. I thought foods that I thought were healthy, I'm finding out are not, and I feel like I've been gaslit. I feel like I've been gaslit because things that I thought were healthy, I'm finding out have so much chemicals and processed things in it. I feel really like violated. I feel like I've been violated. So I think that by allowing these foods on food stamps, you're kind of telling people that these are safe, healthy foods, that this is what your body needs when it's not what your body needs. Now, I'm not saying maybe once a year, maybe they allow birthday cake once a year. Maybe somehow they do that. I mean, I'm not saying deny them everything. I do know my daughter and I have birthdays close together. So every year for almost ever, I would never have a cake because I said we don't need 2 cakes in the same month. That's way too much sugar. So I gave up my birthday cake and I said, well, just have your cake. So now in current years, my daughter's been bringing back the cake, but I'm like, as you get older, your metabolism slows and I need it even less. I need those sweets even less. And since I'm addicted to sugar, it's hard to say no. It's really, really hard to say no. I try to say no. I have to not even bring it in the house. If you're near death, I mean, eat whatever you want. I know on my mother's deathbed, there was 2 things. I mean, you think that they say these deep things on their deathbed. She didn't. One thing, she wanted a brownie. She wanted a brownie on her deathbed. And we refused it, thinking it was so bad for her. Now, on your deathbed? I mean, we regret not giving her her brownie. But the second thing is, she said she regretted not taking care of her teeth. Not taking care of her teeth. That's what she said on her deathbed. And she had all of her teeth except for one. So I'm not really sure why she said that. She may have needed to have more pulled, but she was very secretive. But those were the words of wisdom she gave me on her deathbed, was I regretted not taking care of my teeth. Your teeth contribute to so much of your health, and if you're eating those sugary foods and not able to brush them, floss them, and go to the dentist because you can't afford it, that does impact your health. That does. So this food stamp issue is so emotional. It's like people are fighting over it on YouTube and all the videos, the opposing views. I really hate labels. I really hate when people say the Republicans this, the Democrats that. You can't lump everybody into one group. Nobody believes 100% of anything. There's bits and pieces. There's bits and pieces of everything. And a professor said to me once, if you could argue the opposite side, then you're a good debater. I recently read my paper on what I'm looking for in a husband that I was required to write as a senior, which I told my children that, and they said, oh my gosh, that teacher would be fired today, requiring you to write what you're looking for in a husband. At 17, I wrote it like I was looking for a husband, which I wasn't. I waited 10 years to get married after that. So I guess I was looking at the other side. I try to look at the other side. I'm not always best. I'm not always best. So you could comment below why food stamps should cover sugary, high carbs, processed food that are all empty calories, which cause the kids to have health problems. And even if they don't, they're tired, sluggish, not alert learners in school, probably sick more often. I actually was sick quite a bit. We had sugary cereal for breakfast, peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch, and the school did sell ice cream. So I did get ice cream a lot. So I'd have sugary cereal, sugary sandwich, ice cream, and then dinner was a decent dinner with dessert. I was sick all the time as a child. I was sick all the time. I missed a lot of school. I missed 2 weeks pretty much every year. I don't know if it wasn't the food, well, my father also smoked. So I don't know. With me, I say food does contribute to your health. Your food, your stress level, your sleep, your grandmother's health, your grandparents' health. It all contributes. So why don't we try to be as healthy as we possibly can? Lord knows we've got enough sugar in our foods. Now, for my daughter's birthday, she said she wanted to eat at a German restaurant we've never been to. And because of my limited diet, I didn't really know what Germans eat. And I said, okay. And we went there, and I ordered the salmon and vegetables because I'm trying to eat healthy. No bread comes with the meal. That's one thing. And if it does, if I've heard that other countries are shocked how much sugar's in our bread. Anyway, this food was so bland. I was like, it had no flavor, so I would assume it had no sugar and no salt. I like bland foods, but this was even bland for me. And I was just thinking, is this real German food? Is this what it's like to eat food that isn't covered in sugar and salt? Because anywhere else you go out to eat, it's very salty and full of sugar. We went to Longhorn because I get a free dessert for my birthday. And I ordered a salad with chicken. I could barely eat the chicken. It was so covered in salt and spices that now that I have changed my diet so much, I could barely stomach that chicken. It was so incredibly salty. And I was thinking, here I am trying to get a healthy salad, and the chicken just destroyed it. It ruined it. So food does matter. And I know Park Rose Permaculture is not saying that food does not contribute to that. I don't know why she said they should not be, they should not have a limit on what they can get. When we changed our diet, I mean, my doctor told me about 5 years ago, when COVID started, I was really overweight from all these sugar and salt and bad food. And he said, you need to change your diet and not eat any meat, zero meat, and get rid of carbs, no carbs, because you'll never exercise enough to cover those carbs. Well, I remember going to the grocery store and I just about broke down crying. I said, there's only one aisle that I could shop at in this store. 99% of the store is unhealthy. The fruits and vegetables, and he said no meat. So fruits and vegetables were about it. And I did lose a lot of weight. I lost, 45 pounds or so. I lost so much weight. My daughter told me she thought I was getting anorexic. She thought I was too thin. I was starving all the time, and I was lethargic because he didn't tell me to add B12. He did not tell me in getting rid of meat, and I never liked eggs. I've never liked eggs in my life. He didn't tell me that I needed to add B12, that's an important vitamin that you're missing when you get rid of red meat. So right now we did add back some meat. I tried to eat salmon, and we try to eat tuna and shrimp. Occasionally steak, very, very occasionally, and chicken. We've added back in some processed foods because, I don't know, we're always hungry. So we did add back some processed foods, and we did add back some sugary foods. So I've gained back some of the weight, but I'm taking it day by day. And I do believe that as you age, you should have a little bit of extra weight. I've read a lot of stories on that. It says when you get sick as you're older, it's good to have some extra weight. If you're very thin when you're older and you get a serious illness, you could die from not having a little bit of padding. So it's a little bit, I don't know if that's scientifically proven, but I think it's a little healthier to have a couple extra pounds when you get a major illness. Not too much, just, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of things that doctors believe, some doctors on YouTube, not the doctors I go to, they believe things like your blood pressure should be slightly higher. You should weigh a little bit more because everything's geared towards everybody. They say everybody should have blood pressure of 120/80. And they're saying older people should be a little higher because your arteries are a little bit hardened or clogged. And so you should have it, like if it gets too low, you're going to faint, you're going to fall. And you shouldn't be this thin. You should have a little bit of extra weight. They're saying that is healthier. Who knows? Everything changes every year. So I do the best I can. Best I can to try to be as healthy as I can. And I hope you're all doing well. I hope that if you like this video, share it with a friend. Subscribe and like. Appreciate that. We know you have lots of choices in who to watch. And so many issues, so many thoughts, so much going on. It's my kids have told me they're going to take away my TV because I watch too many videos and they get me too upset. And that's raising my blood pressure. So they've told me I need to go out and start doing some fun things in life and stop worrying about the rest of the country. Although I don't know how you can stop because it's everywhere. It's everywhere you go. It's everywhere you go. If you go to the store to buy food, if you see your neighbors. I mean, I went to take the garbage out last night and saw some papers blowing in our yard. And I have a weird thing that I don't like to touch. I don't like to touch anything in our yard because I've heard all those stories about fentanyl things, and all the cashiers at Walmart wear gloves. So I just got this weird thing in my head that I don't want to touch anything in my yard. Well, Steve went and picked it up and brought it in, and he said, look, this is a bill from a woman who lives 30 miles away. She owes $32,000 to the IRS, and it was dated October 2025. And I thought, oh my gosh, she owes $32,000 to IRS. And how did it get in our yard? Did some mailman just dump the mail? Because there's been stories of people just dumping mail, the whole thing, because instead of delivering, doing your job, they just dumped. I mean, there was a lot of mail out there. He didn't see the rest of it. I don't know if it blew away. I mean, at some point I would go out there with gloves and pick it up, but it was late and dark and I didn't want to do it. But when he took Sammy out, he picked up that one paper, just one, and showed me an IRS bill. I mean, it was pretty faded because it had been hit by rain, and but it was kind of interesting. I don't know what else was out there. So I know that even without me watching YouTube or whatnot, it's all around you. It's in your front yard when the lady has that bill, and the people at the grocery stores are stressed out, and people are calling all day long trying to scam me out of money. I get scam calls all day. I know people are hurting, so I don't need to watch YouTube to know that we are all hurting. So even if I listen to my kids and stop watching YouTube, I know it's there. I know it's there. So take care of yourself, and until I see you again, take it easy. Say bye, Sammy. Say bye. Say bye, Sammy. Sweet Sammy. Sweet Sammy. She keeps me happy. She keeps me happy. That's her kisses, and they're free, huh? Her kisses are free. All right? Steve will come back one day. He's tired with his new job. Another thing. He's tired all the time. He has a physical job at his age. After he lost his job, he had to get a physical job, and he makes a third of what, and I'm not blaming him. Not blaming him. Again, it's today's world. So I don't have to watch YouTube to know he makes a third less money, and he's tired all the time. Don't have to watch YouTube to know that our world has changed. Take it easy.